Welcome to Hardwood Handicappers with Zach Cohen, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Zachary Cohen, VSiN.com senior editor with the Thursday episode of Hardwood Handicappers. Today is Thursday, March 5th. It is 9:30 a.m. Eastern, and today is my wife's birthday, so if she's listening, happy birthday to her. But today I am joined by Jonathan Von Tobel to talk through a big slate of NBA games. Maybe not the best slate, but a big slate. And JVT, co-host of Money Moves, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. Can't complain. Ms. Cohen, is that what it is? Happy birthday to Mrs. Cohen. Congratulations on another year around the sun. What are you guys doing to celebrate?
We are going to some Italian restaurant tonight, and then we have dinner reservations like the rest of the week because, you know, it's never just a birthday with women. It's like a birth week. So got a lot going on.
I'm very anti. There's probably some deeper social, what's it called, psychological problem there. But I'm very anti-birthday, at least for myself. So, Stormy unfortunately found out and then marked it in her calendar, so she now knows when the birthday is. But I'm very anti telling anybody when the birthday is or celebrating it. So good, go have a good time.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a mystery for I'm with you. It's like if people figure it out and they say it, good for them, but you're not supposed to tell them. No, not that way for my wife. It'll be her birthday for the next year or two. All right. Well, we have a lot to talk about. I do want to get into some of the stuff from last night and some big picture NBA stuff after we talk about the games for tonight. But I think the place that we should start tonight is with kind of the Tankapalooza, is that what Gil calls it?
Yeah.
The Tankapalooza parlay, and just kind of get those games out of the way because they are the uglier games. I don't like to talk about all of them, but here are the games that I put down as like the potential legs for that. I know you have a play actually fading one of these teams. So I'm going to just mention the four that I think that are, the popular ones for tonight. And then maybe, a couple of others worth considering, but Mavericks at Magic. Mavericks are one of the tanking teams, but Cooper Flag is questionable for tonight. Anthony Black and Wendell Carter Jr., both questionable for Orlando, so not as straightforward as you might hope. Nets at Heat, and that's an obvious one. The Heat are playing really well. The Nets have been really bad and don't have any incentive to win. Bulls at Suns, another one where, tanking team against team that needs to win. And then another one that's a little bit iffy. Pelicans are facing the Kings in Sacramento, where Sacramento, they try a little bit harder than your average tanking team. And then I completely crossed off Jazz Wizards just because those are both tanking teams. There's no guaranteed winner there. And Trae Young will be back for Washington to kind of muddy things up. But it's four teams for tonight that I think that you could really consider. But I know you have a play on the Mavericks Magic game. So, tell the people why they should be wary of Orlando.
Yeah, I mean, when you mentioned it, there's obviously the questionable status for both Black and Carter. So I think that's going to matter. We have slowly seen Cooper Flag be upgraded over the last couple of days. We saw him the other day get upgraded to doubtful, but he was scared of Con Knippel. So they did not play him in that game against the Hornets. And then here we are. We have an official questionable for him. I would assume that he's going to be out there here tonight against the Orlando Magic, just reading through the tea leaves. I have been burned assuming in the NBA, so we'll see. But I would expect that we get him out there. Big picture, it's an interesting question of how long we see him, because I think Dallas will eventually shut him down for the season, but that's another topic for a little bit later down the road. And for Orlando, I mean, there's a couple of things here. First off, they were on that run. I think the last time you and I were on together, we discussed it, talking about them against Houston. And of course, they led by 19 in that game as a 2.5-point dog and ended up losing 113 to 108, let go of the rope. Then would go on to lose by double digits to Detroit, bounce back nicely against the tanking Wizards. I think that this is probably a play here on a couple of things. It's the return of Flag. It's the questionable status of both Black and Carter if they're not going to be out there. And I think Orlando, while they were on a decent run, it's not like they were ripping off 7 or 8 consecutive covers or anything like that. They were pretty disjointed. I mean, their best stretch over the last month has been a 3-0-1 stretch. I mean, they haven't really been dominating teams. So I think if you get Flag back, Kid's a good enough defensive coach when you look at the way that the Dallas Mavericks play against an Orlando Magic team that stinks on offense, then I think they're going to be able to keep themselves in it. So I thought the Mavericks catch 8.5 with Flag back with some 2 questionables on the other side. If we get the right side of the injury report, we're looking at, I think, a pretty solid number there.
Yeah, and I think it's very possible that you cover and the Tankapalooza parlay still wins. Yes. I think that Orlando could easily win by 4 or 5. But yeah, it's a good shout. I mean, if you're going to be taking the Magic, you should know that there is a little bit more risk involved with them. I would say the same about the Pelicans. Like they might not have much to lose for as much as the other teams, but there's also not a lot of incentive for them to win. At least the players themselves, the organization might want to avoid the embarrassment, but like it's already there. They're already a top 10 worst team in the league. It's not really changing. So while I do think there's a decent chance they win tonight, it's not one that I would be throwing in a parlay. That parlay, if you were to take the Magic, Heat, Suns, and Pelicans, plays out at plus 156. The way that I actually did it tonight was I replaced the Pelicans with the Rockets, which is Warriors at Rockets, Golden State playing without Stephen Curry and Kristaps Porzingis again. Houston, honestly, like I feel like every chance anyone gets, like any big NBA fan or big NBA analyst, it's kind of like let's bash the Rockets a little bit. But you look up at like their dunks and threes profile, and like they're one of like 4 teams in the league, maybe even 3 that are both top 10 in adjusted offensive rating and adjusted defensive rating. So they really have been pretty solid, and they don't really lose these types of games. So I would consider putting that in with the tanking teams instead of taking the Pelicans.
Yeah, I think it's a really fair shot. I mean, obviously the Pelicans too. The last time we saw him on a basketball court, I was very bitter. He's sitting on 8.5, and they give up a 24-7 run to close the game against the Lakers and lose by 9. So this Pelicans team, you talk about embarrassing, and similar to the Magic, except a little bit more, I think a little bit more impactful, is their injury report. I mean, you look at the guys who are all of a sudden going to pop up here. I mean, Zion Williamson comes back, all of a sudden he's questionable to play here. DeJounte Murray's been back for a couple of games. He's out today. Trey Murphy, questionable today. So if those 3, well, one of them we know is not going to play Murray, if all 3 are out, then all of a sudden you're looking at a Pelicans team that you're kind of skating on thin ice, even if it's against the Kings, who, as you have said, at least have put forth some sort of effort on a night-to-night basis. Does the injury report for Houston not scare you? Şengün, questionable. Smith, questionable. Amen Thompson, questionable, even if those 3 aren't going to be able to play?
Not really. I think they still have enough as long as Durant's out there with a couple of the players. I do have a play in that game separately. Just I guess I'll get that out of the way quickly. I think Reed Sheppard over 3.5 first quarter points at plus 135 is a pretty good number.
Yeah.
He's had 6+ in 4 of the last 5 games. I think that Ime Udoka did say that he's going to go back to his original starting 5 when he gets a chance. So I don't know for sure that Sheppard's going to be starting, but you just said it, like Şengün, Jabari Smith, Amen Thompson, all questionable. So I feel like there's still a chance that injuries force him into that starting 5. And if he's in there, like I would feel really good about him scoring 4 points. So I put a half a unit on this just because I do think there's a chance he comes off the bench. But I think that 4 points in the first quarter for a guy that's been lighting it up for them, definitely worth a flyer.
I would agree. And by the way, you mentioned the price on your parlay. That's way better than the last few days, although they've been hitting. You know, I had the day before? The day before. It was a 5-leg money line parlay that was minus 105. Like it got there, but I mean, if you're really putting together these parlays to fade these tanking teams, you are still laying quite a price when you're talking about needing 5 legs to come home and still laying minus 105. But they've been coming home. I mean, these teams stink. Haberstroh has the great stat out there that he pointed out. The bottom 10 teams on a collective, 0-42 stretch or something like that. Like these teams have been awful.
Yep, I had that written down. The bottom 10 teams in the league have now lost a collective 43 straight games after the Bucks lost last night. My Bucks fever, I put on a couple of layers and sweated it out. It's crazy what just happened last night. Like they were up huge, and I stopped watching, and then I looked and like, oh my god, they're done.
I know you said we'll talk about yesterday later, but are we at like Giannis is an anchor type? Like not with his play, but with the way that he is just around his team. Like he's just, dude, he just walks into the room, just sucks the energy out of it. Everybody's walking on eggshells there for he kind of stinks, dude.
He's just killing them. And I also will add that I think that I'm done talking about them having 3 tradable first round picks as well. If they move those picks for a good player, I'll say told you so, but I'm not going to talk about it again until the offseason. I just can't do it.
That's the way media works.
I can't defend Milwaukee anymore. Yeah, it is. So all right. So anyway, the parlay that I mentioned before, Magic money line, Heat money line, Rockets money line, Suns money line, that's plus 115. So it's not quite the Tankapalooza ones that Gil Alexander likes to do, but we're working around it with this Houston money line parlay. I do think that Golden State put up about as good of an effort as they possibly could have put up against your Clippers the other night. And still, it took 3-4 minutes of the Clippers flipping the switch defensively and just completely put that game away. So I think Golden State, without those guys in the lineup, just a really bad team. And also, I feel like the vibes have to be terrible there with Kuminga playing well in another jersey. It's just got to be the ultimate kicking, an organization while they're down.
Yeah, I would agree with everything you're talking about here. And obviously the thing with Porzingis hanging over the team too, like there's just this, and Kerr does that weird thing where he says it's not Potts and then kind of has to come back and walk it back and apologize for it. It's just there is a certain non-data, and analysis that has to happen with, teams at some point. And for the Warriors, it just seems at this point right now that that's a group that is just, I mean, look, they have aspirations every year because they have one of the best players in the league, and every single year they're falling short, and well short of that too. Like they've got no shot really. So, I would agree with you in general too. This team has been worth playing against with some frequency.
Yeah, it's just been an ugly season. I feel bad for Steph. I actually think that Steph, like, I don't know, this might be like a conspiracy of mine or something, but I feel like if the team were a little bit better around him, he'd be playing right now. Instead, He's like, I'm not going to play through an injury with this roster.
He is. I think I've told you this. He's my top player. I mean, I think yes, top player, no question. I was trying to think of other sports. I hope he demands a trade, and I hope he goes somewhere else. It's the time has passed. I know it's great to like stay with the one team or whatever, but it's time to go somewhere else and put him in a situation where we can see him on a big stage again.
Coolest thing imaginable would be him going to Charlotte, but it's just like, how does it work without them? Without
they
them
don't need him. They don't need him.
They don't need that. Well, that's what I want to talk about that later. We're saving that for later. But let's get into some of the games that matter now. But first, I wanted to say, if you're looking to sharpen your edge this NBA season, VSiN Pro is where to start. Get advanced analytics, player prop projections, and expert insights used by serious bettors every day. Try it out for only $9.99 for your first month and see what smart bettors are using to beat the books. Head to vsin.com/subscribe and check out all of our subscription options. I keep saying I think it's the best time of the year to use our $9.99 offer. I'll say it every day until, I see people are actually signing up. So definitely take a look over at the subscription page and, get all of our March Madness stuff, all of our conference tournament stuff. We've been posting those like crazy over at vsin.com, and then all of our picks for every other sport, including extra NBA stuff over at vsin.com as well. And then access to JVT's show and all of our other great shows on the VSiN network.
All of them are fantastic.
That's true. I actually sit there. I'm not even kidding when I say this. It sounds fake, but I have it on in the background all day, unless I have like a sporting event on that I need to watch. Like I literally have it on in the background all day.
You do watch. You and Chris Massaro, I think, are our top two viewers. Massaro has it on like 24/7. I think he sleeps with it on.
Yeah, well, I have to hear if anybody says anything wrong so I can like complain over text to you guys.
That's right. While I'm on the air.
Yeah, well, I do text JVT while he's on the air sometimes.
I do respond, which is not great.
All right. Well, Raptors at Timberwolves is where I want to start. 8 p.m. Eastern tip. I do have a play in this game, but I'm looping it in with the Lakers-Nuggets game. I'm parlaying Minnesota on the money line with Denver on the money line, and that is plus 113. I wrote it here, but like, it's just really hard to trust this Timberwolves team on an actual spread. I feel like they are one of the least trustworthy teams in the entire NBA right now. I am confident they're going to be able to flip the switch in the postseason. Like I've said it before, but for whatever reason, I feel like this team is like playing like they have a championship hangover, even though they did not win the title last year. But I do think that they have like a really strong defensive infrastructure, a really, really strong like 1-7 rotation, and then 8 if you include Bones Highland, who I think plays well with Ayo Dosunmu. But I do think this team is actually good, and they are just kind of sleepwalking through the regular season. But having said that, like I'm not trusting them to cover tonight, but I think that they should win. I mean, you just look at the two teams, and like they're very similar in that they're very good defensive teams, but only one of these teams is good and trustworthy offensively, and that's Minnesota. And the Raptors under Darko Rajakovic, 23-53 straight up, playing as underdogs of 3.5 to 9.5. Also 11-33 straight up when facing teams with winning percentages of 60 to 70. So this has just not been a reliable team when facing strong competition, but obviously the Timberwolves haven't been a great team when facing bad competition. So something we'll have to give tonight, but the injury report is clean for Minnesota. And I do think that the Timberwolves have the wings to kind of slow down the Raptors, two guys, Barnes and Ingram. And I think that Edwards should be able to find a way to win this game late.
Yep, and to your point too, you listed off a couple, but to add to some support for you, at least from the Toronto perspective, 6-16 with a negative 7.2 point differential, or net rating against teams that have a top 10 net rating. So they have not played them well so far this year. So that's not something that really bodes well against good teams, and they're 25th in offensive efficiency against those opponents too. So that's been something that's really bugged them here as of late and in the season throughout. I'm with you, though. I mean, I texted you guys the other day. So the 5-leg parlay that I mentioned, the fifth final leg was Memphis and Minnesota. And I'm watching them and they're trailing. You're just like, what is this team doing? I just don't understand. And then I think it was like third quarter where it looked like they went into the locker room, was like, you guys just want to go like win this game now? And they're like, okay, yeah, cool. And then they just go out there and stomp them in the second half, and they end up winning by about 7 or so. So I'm with you. Like we've talked about this many times, I know, with you, and I think we mentioned it again last week too, because I think they were playing on Thursday. They are a team that I don't think you can back from a spread perspective. They're well below 500 with their ATS record. They're just not meeting market expectations, and the market does continue to price them as a team that is definitely elite, and you can see the makings of that team. But that is something that I do think is worth avoiding here. And the final point on this, just to kind of put the confusing bow on all of it. So I mentioned the teams against opponents that have a top 10 net rating. Detroit, Houston, New York, Oklahoma City are the 4 of the 5 teams with a positive net rating against top 10 opponents. The 5th is Minnesota, and they have the second best net rating at plus 1.9, but they're only 9-8. So like, I don't know what they are. I know they're very good, and I'm with you. I did add them to win the Western Conference a while ago. Still kind of holding out hope that they're just going to kind of transform into that team. And like you said too, if they do make it to a Western Conference Finals, this is their 3rd straight year in the Western Conference Finals. It's a lot of basketball for a team to be playing.
Yeah. Yep, I wrote down the same thing, by the way. I said that even in the other night, like in a successful, like an evening of fading the tanking teams, they let the Grizzlies hang around for 3 quarters. Yep. So it was the exact same thought went through my mind. This is the team also that, like, when we do these throughout the rest of the year, which it's going to be like, like Twitter people will be like, Twitter cappers will be like, who's selling this parlay? And like the answer is always Minnesota.
Yep.
If it's going to be one of the good teams losing to a bad team, it might be the Timberwolves. So yeah, it's a hard team to trust. I do think they're going to figure it out, but yeah, I'm with you. You can't back them on the spread.
No, never.
All right. I did mention, by the way, like I paired that with the Nuggets money line. We'll talk about that game a little later because we're going in order of time. But Pistons at Spurs, 8 p.m. Eastern. I mean, this is the game of the night. I mean, I wrote this, I sent this to Bill 80 for the VSiN newsletter, but I did say, yeah, game of the night, potential NBA Finals preview, depending on what you think of both these teams, but also a really good revenge spot for Detroit in just that they lost on their home floor a couple games ago without Isaiah Stewart, who will be back in the lineup tonight, and no Harrison Barnes for San Antonio. But I know that you might have a play on the Spurs, and the Spurs were the lean for me in this game. I just didn't take it. So what do you like here?
Yeah, I would just ask, what changes about this matchup, even with Isaiah Stewart out there? Because when we saw them play, a week or two ago, we saw Stephon Castle guard Cade Cunningham at a really high level. We saw Castle use one of the best big man defender behind him as a weapon as well to protect the rim whenever Cade Cunningham would get there. And we saw that the Detroit Pistons were willing to say, yeah, if anybody else can beat us, let's go ahead and see if it happens. And sure enough, I mean, I think this is going to be the Achilles heel for Detroit when we get into the postseason, which is there's not that many guys who can create. So there's going to be a lot asked of these other pieces. And if Jalen Duren is your primary secondary option, that's not a place that you want to be in. Wemby can eliminate that. He's good enough to defend down low while also covering the corners, so you can eliminate some of those options for you as well. I just think this is a bad match. After watching that first game, I think it's just a bad matchup for Detroit. And outside of maybe a monster shooting night from some of the pieces on the roster, which of course certainly could happen, I just think that the San Antonio Spurs are almost built to snuff out Detroit, given the way that we have seen them with a good primary defender, a good shot blocker, and really nobody else you have to worry about from a creation standpoint where you can hide some lesser defenders like a De'Aaron Fox and others.
Yeah, I think Stewart helps only just because it's a really tough interior presence, a good shot blocker, and a decent floor spacer that you can play next to Duren and just give yourself a little bit more size. But I am with you. Like, I do think this team is built to really beat up on teams that only have one, primary on-ball option and one really, scary scoring option. And that just kind of speaks to like my doubts with Detroit overall in the big picture this season, where like I feel like it's crazy to kind of say that the best team in the East for the entire year is possibly the 4th best team in the Eastern Conference, but that's where I have them. If Tatum comes back and looks anything like himself, I think that they are the 4th best team in the East, which is it's not anything like doesn't mean that they can't get to the NBA Finals. Doesn't mean that I don't like this team. Like, I had the over on the regular season win total. Think they've been great this year. I just really think that they needed to make a move, upgrading Tobias Harris to a legitimate player at the power forward position, or whatever they can do to bring in somebody that teams actually fear on the ball, if Cade is struggling. And we've now seen it a couple of times, not just against the Spurs, but also when they played the Cavaliers the other night. Cade struggled in a game where the Cavs did not have Donovan Mitchell, and there was just nobody really there to kind of lift him up and help them win that game on the road. And I just think that's going to be a problem for them at some point in the postseason. I honestly think they're going to lose before the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that as well. I'm with you, and you and I are both the Cavs truthers. You watch all the time, so I'm sure you heard me shout you out yesterday. I think the Cavs are that best team in the Eastern Conference, and there is a bunch of teams who can just defend Detroit the way that they are. When I kind of applaud them for letting them make this run and see what's happening, but I think they have a clear inherent weakness that is going to hold them back.
Yeah, and it's like, I feel like all these young teams with smart front offices make this run, and they're like, the Thunder did it too. It's like, let's not make a change now. Let's see if these guys can win. But the answer is usually that they can't. And you usually followed up, by a pretty big offseason. So really looking forward to seeing what it looks like. And if that is, a Detroit team coming up short, what the move looks like in the offseason. But I do think we're heading that way. I really think that Kawhi Leonard's like a perfect fit for this team. I know that I don't know what the Clippers are going to do now because they are continuing to play well. And I think that, Garland and Mathurin could be fun around Kawhi, but I will see, I guess we'll see where this kind of run for the Clippers takes them. But if that's a trade that's visited at some point in the summer, Kawhi on Detroit makes them maybe the best team in the league, in my opinion.
But I would completely agree. I would actually kind of love to see it because I just, I like fresh blood and getting them in there and to put Kawhi out there. And again, similar to Steph, you obviously hoped that it was going to be the case in LA, but to finally get him on a big stage would be a ton of fun. Could we see the Eastern Conference Finals be Charlotte and Detroit, and it's Steph Curry versus Kawhi Leonard?
I'm at the point. I need to hold off on the Hornets talk. But by the way, do you have a play in this game? Julian Champagnie over 10.5 points at -107. Okay. He had 17 points against the Pistons on February 23rd, that last meeting between them. That game was in Detroit. Champagnie shoots a little bit higher percentages in San Antonio, and no Harrison Barnes for the Spurs. Big Iron Man streak snapped by, I believe he sprained his ankle doing something not basketball related.
He woke up from a nap with a sore ankle is what I read.
That's interesting. That tops me, who I've needed ankle surgery for 5 years because I stepped in a pothole in New York City 5 years ago, and literally need ankle surgery. I've been putting it off, but doing it in your sleep, that definitely tops what I did.
Yeah, I mean I can't. We don't have time because I was going to dive into your story as well. But yes, that was the story that I read. It goes up there with some of the weird basketball injuries that you're going to see, and he's getting old, so I guess that's what happens.
You could dive into my story, but I blame this guy that I was with who's just bad luck. It was his fault. A friend I have, weird guy. I just feel like him being around made me step in that puddle. All right. Well, last game of the night, Lakers at Nuggets, 10 p.m. Eastern. I know you have a play on this. I only have the boring Nuggets side of the parlay, Nuggets money line. So let me know what you're thinking here.
I mean, so we'll see what happens. I tried to take my shot with the Pelicans the other day. I think I was right, but the Pelicans just ruined it for me. But Denver, Denver's quietly getting a little bit healthier. Cam Johnson's questionable to play. We're still waiting for Watson and Gordon to come back, but they're getting more continuity. They're playing relatively well. I think this is just a bad matchup for the Lakers. Who in the world are they going to trust against Nikola Jokic? He should absolutely annihilate anybody they want to throw at him in this game. And I've talked about this till I'm blue in the face on money moves, and I say it on here and wherever anybody would listen to me. I think this Lakers team stinks. I mean, we watched them again last night or the other night. They had to have a 24-7 run to win that game against Pelicans. They were going to lose that till the Pelicans let go of the rope. They are a team that I don't trust. They're a poor defensive team at that. And I think that this Nuggets team is better than what the market is giving them credit for here, at least in terms of the gap between them and the Lakers. The Lakers have been really overrated by the betting market, I think, just because of the logo and the presence of LeBron James and Luka Doncic. But the reality is, I think they're going to have a very hard time in this matchup defending Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. And this should be a game in which Denver really does thrive at home.
And they're also overvalued because, going back to that Pelicans game where I had the Pelicans also, they're front runners. They go up by 7, and then they start to play well because they're like, all right, we could make people think we're good if we just go out and blow out this team. And when they start getting cocky, they start to try a little bit harder than normal teams would when they're up, a pretty reasonable amount. And it's just, this is a team that all year we've been saying, fade them against good opponents. They are not going to be able to beat these teams. I mean, they're 5-11 straight up. And against the spread this season when facing teams that outscore opponents by 3+ points per game, 8-15 straight up as underdogs. This is a game where, both teams are offense first teams and both teams have defensive concerns, but the Nuggets, I believe, are a better defensive team, and the Nuggets are the number 1 team in the NBA in adjusted offensive rating. The Lakers are number 9, and then also throw in the fact that it's in Ball Arena. Nuggets coming off 2 full days of rest, and then you said it, no answer for the Joker in this game. Like Ayton, he's going to eat him alive. This version of Ayton that's just like, I don't know, that needs the crunk juice. He's way too old to need crunk juice, by the way.
I do that to my kid at baseball practice. You know what I mean? Like, he's 7 years old and you got to give him the crunk juice so that he can feel better. Like, all right, cool. Here we go. I can get a hit. I was frustrated in the last at bat. And to your point too, adding to this, the Lakers, there are only 3 teams that have a worse net rating against top 10 net rating opponents. It is Washington, Brooklyn, and Utah. Like, this Lakers team against good teams, they're awful, dude.
Yeah. I'm hoping we get another situation like last year where it's like the market's low on a team like the Timberwolves in the first round against them. Yeah. And we could just come in huge, because that was one of my only really successful first round series plays last year was Timberwolves just to kill the Lakers. Like I just did not see that lineup, getting to Minnesota, but they were favored in the series.
Yep. Yeah, this is going to be, I think, a theme here. I'm gonna be a little irritated because the play-in seems to have kind of not solidified, but I am still hoping that they will slip into the play-in. I have a Lakers 2-1 ticket to participate in the play-in. We'll need your Suns to start kind of turning things around, because they're going to be my greatest hope here to get them out of the top 6. So I am a Suns fan down the stretch for you.
Awesome. Good to have you. I mean, the Suns we've been beating up on bad teams lately, so that's good. We should beat the Bulls tonight. I'd be surprised if we lose, but yeah, Dylan Brooks being out, got to get him back.
Yep.
All right. Before we start to talk a little bit about some Hornets, I do want to say, attention to any listeners who are new to VSiN, signing up for our free daily newsletter is a great way to catch up. Delivered straight to your inbox every morning, VSiN's newsletter offers picks, data, and strategies for the day's betting menu. Sign up for free now at vsin.com/newsletter and start receiving your free newsletter tomorrow morning. That's vsin.com/newsletter. Stay ahead of the game and bet smarter with VSiN. And if you get that newsletter, you will be getting some stuff from me now, because I'm doing some NBA stuff for that newsletter. As of, I think this morning, there was stuff in there. So we'll have a little bit more there.
Did you have a write-up on Skip Bayless's thoughts on Iran in the newsletter today?
We should do a separate pod on that. I like how I didn't know what Ernestine looked like until Skip left ESPN and FS1.
What a name.
One of my friends was like, I thought Ernestine was his cat. I'm like,
that's the second kind of toughest name I've heard over the last 24 hours. I forgot about the actress Imogen Poots. That's a tough one.
Yeah, that sounds like a cat.
It is not.
All right. Well, I've been saying it all show. We haven't been talking about it, but I do want to talk about the Hornets, who are now 20-2, I believe, with the starting 5 of LaMelo Ball, Con Knipple, Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, Moussa Diabate, and they have now won 6 straight games by 15-plus points, the longest streak of any team since the 2017-2018 Warriors, tied for the second longest streak in NBA history as well. And this is a team that before yesterday's game against Boston, I did talk about this game a little bit on the podcast, and I said to take the 7. I did not expect them to win that game outright, but I did say that we've seen enough now in terms of sample size to say that this is a top 4. This is like a team that would be in that top 4 conversations. And when you make it a top 5 in the Eastern Conference, if we knew for a fact they were in the playoffs. So my only hesitation with taking them to win the East as of this moment is that I don't know that they're going to be in the field. Man. But once they are in, no matter what the price is and no matter who they're playing in the first round, I think that there will be value in taking them, because I do think that they border on elite in the East compared to being where they might be like a 7 seed.
Okay, I'm glad you said this, because this was going to be my theme for the show today on Money Moves was, okay, let's take this a step forward, because I have really good numbers on them to participate in the play-in, to make the playoffs, 4-1 and 12-1 respectively. Seem like we might get there. We'll see if that actually happens. But now what's the next step? And then this is kind of a theme of today. Look, they have a losing record against teams with a top 10 net rating, but guess what? They're still top 10 in net rating against teams with a top 10 net rating. So they have done a really good job. You mentioned this lineup and how good they have been. What I think to me has been most shocking about how this group has played together, they are an incredible defensive team. Every metric points to them being a good defensive team against top 10 opponents in terms of net rating. fifth in defensive efficiency at 114.7 points allowed per 100 possessions. They are the second best defensive rebounding team against top 10 teams. And they're one of the best rebounding teams just in general. They're third in offensive rebounding. They're awesome on the glass. They're deep. Kobe White has come on here and been like, now when there's not LaMelo Ball out there, we at least have another guard who can kind of help us out and really generate this offense and move the ball around. He fits perfectly with what they want to do at that position, especially next to Moussa Diabate and then Con Knipple or whoever, so they can continue to kind of churn out these different lines, if you want, like a hockey rotation type of deal, and continue to perform at a really high level. They're well coached, I would say, as well. I'm with you. I mean, I kind of want to accelerate this, and that was going to be my question to you: is why can't I just bet them to win the Eastern Conference? Why can't I expect them to come in and beat a team like, hell, even Detroit, that would maybe as a 1 seed, or if they get Boston, who we just saw there? I wouldn't fear New York at all against them either. I mean, I think maybe the one is like, is Cleveland like the Pokemon evolution of Charlotte? You know what I mean? Like, it's everything that Charlotte wants to eventually be. But even then, I think they would have a shot because those Harden-Mitchell lineups, it's a short sample size, but defensive rating is still something that is left to be desired that they can, I think, go after. So I'm coming more around on not only this team just being awesome, like, we're going to bet them all the time. No, maybe we should bet them to win the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I think that, like, I look at the standings and there's really nowhere that they can land realistically where I would feel terrible about their first round matchup. I think they can beat any of those teams in a 7-game series. I mean, maybe Boston will like wow us with Tatum, and maybe like that's really the only situation I can really see happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that there'll be a better version of this team, the Celtics. I've already said, like, I talked about this yesterday, but I don't see Boston as the favorite to win the East, even with this version of Tatum coming back. So I'm a little surprised people do. But yeah, I mean, I think they could beat the Knicks. I think they could beat the Pistons. I think they could beat the Celtics. I think the Cavaliers are the team that I think sits above everybody else in the Eastern Conference. And maybe that's the team that you want to avoid. Obviously, not having a home court advantage in any series would be, definitely hard to overcome. But like, if people are willing to overlook the age with the Spurs, why wouldn't you be willing to overlook the age at the Hornets? And I do think that, like, they're in the more winnable conference. And you said it, coaching. Like, I feel like he does not get his credit, Charles Lee. He's a 2-time NBA champion, coached under Mike Budenholzer and Joe Mazzulla in, championship runs. And he's just kind of been around the block. He knows what it takes to win playoff series. And yeah, I think the Kobe White's been a great addition. I think this team is deep. And they've also been kind of like a case study for me in terms of, like, maybe it's not worth investing in the center position. It could be like the running back position. But it's a really fun team. And I do think the story, like you just said, kind of advances now to, like, what can they actually do once they get in? Because I do think they're clear of the Milwaukee Bucks. They're going to be in the play-in, and now you're just hoping that they either get out and get the 6th seed or end up in 7-8 so that they just get 2 cracks at it.
Yeah, I mean, they better. I am at the point right now where if they don't make it to the playoffs, it's an abject failure. I mean, the play-in looks awful right now. Orlando, Miami themselves, and then Atlanta. Of those 4 teams, they have the best point differential at this point right now. Obviously, they're all division foes too. They have the best record in the division. Like, they're clearly the best team among these 4. So if you're going to tell me that they don't, I would actually, I know we're saying he's a great coach. I think I'd fire him because, like, seriously, I mean, there should be no excuse in this front office and within this franchise right now that they don't expect themselves to be a playoff team.
Yeah, and that's why I think, like, getting to 7 is really, really important. Just to, like, give yourself 2 cracks at a home game in the play-in, and that's just really valuable. It's not just you're in the play-in now, you're fine. And they have so much time to do it too. Like, they're only 1.5 games back, and they're only 2.5 games back at the Sixers. Like, I wouldn't shock me at all if they finished in 6. So
I mean, that to me would be, I would hate that. I mean, I have them 12-1 to make the playoffs. I'd like the double whammy of play-in playoffs, but you're right. They have a chance to just not even worry about it too if they keep it this rate. I mean, again, you talk about all these teams, they're on par with, like, Cleveland right now in terms of point differential. Like, they should be up there. Their expected wins over 82. Have you looked at cleaning the glass lately?
No, what was it?
Their expected wins over 82 right now with this point differential is 51. It's ridiculous watching them. Let me see. Yeah, expected wins over 82 games for the audience. So how many games in an 82-game season would you normally expect the team to win with this efficiency differential? The 50.1 is, I oversold a little bit. So they should be on pace for 50 and 50.1 wins.
Yeah, and I will say, like, if they were to face the Knicks in the first round, and that's the 3-6 matchup, that would be electric, getting, like, LaMelo Ball and, like, the Trae Young role of, like, guard and villain, and just, like, them going in there kind of with nothing to lose against a Knicks team that's like on the verge of breaking if they don't win this. They have to win this. There's so much pressure on New York.
Oh, that would be you cannot lose that series if you're the Knicks, and the Hornets are free rolling if they get that. Like that's absolutely.
That'd be really fun. And Knipple just like knocking down threes, having a Clay moments. Like that'd be great.
Oh, dude, they're tremendous. I mean, is it crazy to say? I think they're better than the Knicks.
They're better than the Knicks. That's what it really is at the Hornets. It's like, how many teams are actually better than this version of the Hornets right now in the Eastern Conference? And that becomes a really interesting question, because like the only reason I'm not saying that they're a top 4 team is because they started the year like 10-30. It's like they are a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference right now. It's just a matter of where you want to put them, and it's really tough to kind of rank those 5 teams.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Well, anything else you want to talk about? I mean, we could talk about Keyonte George all night, because that guy just is the most improved player in the league and is not going to win. I
am on a tight schedule, so I would love to get into it, but I will say 66 points over the last 2 games. He's back in this thing, and I think a lot of NBA voters realize what the situation is. If he's going to play down the stretch, which it might work for us, because the Jazz actually, because everybody's hurt and injured, they might just let him go at it for like the last 18 games or so and see whatever. You know, last couple of games, like yesterday, for example, he had he had 36 points, but like 2 rebounds, 2 assists. He is now just gunner. Yeah. It's just go and get it, and that might help him out a lot.
Yeah, they could lose the games they want to lose, and he could still showcase himself to win that award. It shouldn't even be a contest. I don't understand how he's not at the top of the list. But yeah, I will let you go if you have a tight schedule. Let's recap the best bets though. I have a parlay with the Magic money line, Heat money line, Rockets money line, Suns money line. That is plus 115. I have Reed Sheppard over 3.5 first quarter points at plus 135. I only risked a half a unit on that. I have a parlay with the Timberwolves money line versus the Raptors and Nuggets money line versus the Lakers at plus 113. And I have Julian Champagnie over 10.5 points at minus 107 versus the Pistons.
All right, Mavericks at a bad number plus 8.5, Spurs minus 3.5, and Nuggets minus 5. The 3 I've got for today.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me. Good luck on your show today, and hopefully we'll have you on next week. And everybody else, make sure you head over to VSiN.com to see what we have up there for the NBA. If you're tailing tonight, best of luck, and make sure you join us for a Friday episode of Harvard Handicappers.